Hello and welcome back. Extinction Rebellion, Central London targeted, despite ban. Yes, they were banned following their escapade involving the London Underground, which of course is quite ironic considering the London Underground is run on electric power. So in that case, what do they suggest people use? Are you saying, well, don't even use electricity because some of us are against nuclear power, in which case you can't use that at all, and then if you want to go renewables, then what about the pollution caused by that, like batteries, for example, or how you create dams or wind turbines? Then in that case, the pollution caused by dumping that, then that's just as bad, in which case they may as well go be one with the Amish, as far as I'm concerned. Go Amish, go hunting, go fishing, love and be old-fashioned, and the Amish aren't cold because they say you've got to leave for a couple of years to enter the modern world and then decide if you want to come back. And of course people do because they prefer the sense of community, so good on them. And of course that's understandable and should be able to be extrapolated into modern society to try and show the importance of a community, seeing as is it that the majority now of millennials don't have any friends, as in via a self-completed survey, that they don't identify themselves as having any friends, they are self-identified loners. Well, yeah, in that case surely it's not biased, unless of course you're thinking, well, victim narrowhood is so strong that it's better to say you don't have any friends because then you can claim those victim points there. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a given they don't have friends, but if you see how they act, I suppose it's understandable. And then you have posts from The Guardian saying, oh, well, the joys of being, the joys of dying alone. Yes, don't worry women, don't try and find a guy who you've wanted all your life. End up a spinster, because that'll definitely be fine. I mean, we don't know, because we haven't lived to that point, and all we have to go on is a load of old women living with regrets for not finding somebody that they loved. But trust us, because we have the vision of the anointed, to quote Soul. So let's see, let's get back on track. Extinction Rebellion, Central London targeted despite ban. Okay, Extinction Rebellion protests continued in Central London despite police banning the group's climate change demonstrations in the capital. And of course, this was when the workers, the people who were trying to commute, dragged people down from the train despite being kicked at, to say, GTFO, get the fuck out. You're getting in our way. What kind of job do you have? What makes you feel so superior in order to be able to pull off such a stunt? And in fact, of the Extinction Rebellion members polled, 72% did not agree with the tactics used with regards to climbing on top of an underground train. But yeah, go cycle, I guess, because that's safe in London, isn't it? Oh wait. So, activists blocked Oxford Circus with a wooden pyramid structure and descended on Westminster before moving to Trafalgar Square. One man who was dressed up as Boris Johnson scaled the scaffolding surrounding Big Ben. More than 1,760 arrests have been made in connection with the London protests. A closing ceremony to mark the end of nearly 2 weeks of protests was held in Trafalgar Square. This follows civil disobedience, the idea being let's not pay taxes, let's get in the way, or whatever we can do without hurting anybody physically in order to protest what we find to be unjust. And this normally backfires horrifically, because the thing is, whatever you're protesting, if you use civil disobedience, it has to be against the people you're protesting, not trying to win them over. You're not trying to win over the people you're protesting, or you're getting in the way of, essentially. So if you were to say, hey, we were against the 1%, and then kind of Occupy Wall Street kind of scenario, and say, well, hey, we're going to get in the way of any merchant banker and stock market exchanger in order to make their life more difficult. And in doing so, we get publicity, other people are then aware of it and look into it, and we can hopefully carry out some interviews to then get more people on our side. We're not interrupting the lives of the people we want the support of, then I can understand that. But by doing this, you are getting in the way of most of the people who just want to get on with their life, and therefore you're not gaining their approval, you're gaining their disapproval. As a woman in the video of the person on the train said, no, the world is not going to end in 12 years. No respectable scientist even says that. The closest you get is saying that damage caused will be irreversible in 12 years, but the extent to that is, even that is widely disputed, even if you're trying to get people who are most sympathetic to your cause. But the problem I find from a libertarian perspective is to not set the precedent that protesters like this can be imprisoned, to say that yes, this is illegal and we're going to crack down on you, a kind of stomp head policy, because of course the Conservatives aren't going to be in power forever, and if they set the precedent that people who go against what they want can be imprisoned, then you have a higher grade of political prisoner. And that's why, despite Tommy Robinson's flaws, as many people love to let me know, I still say, well, political prisoner, and he should not be imprisoned for his opinion. And so if the Conservatives set that precedent, then of course Labour are going to clean up, because that's what communists do. That's what socialists do, because that's only a stepping stone to communism, as we all know. So, with that in mind, let's read on. By skipping a bit. So, they mentioned the celebrity Steve Coogan as Alan Partridge, as in, this is some great banter, it really is. They say, police used a cherry picker to clear protesters perched on a wooden structure built to block the road at Oxford Circus. As we can see here, we have some lovely photos here. That is the second advantage of people having smartphones. As Tim Pool likes to mention, that violent crime deaths have decreased substantially because of phones. It's because of being able to access that help immediately that people have not succumbed to fatal injuries so readily. So, moving on, because we don't want this to drag on too long, as I seem to have a habit of doing, let's read their conclusion. They say, the protests come despite a ban on 2 or more people linked to Extinction and Reblleion assembling in London, announced by police on Monday. The Met Police lifted the ban following the closing ceremony at Trafalgar Square, explaining that it was no longer necessary because the stretch of protests, dubbed the Autumn Uprising, had ended. That's always bad. Are you going to mention it? What would you say then? The climate spring next. Is that how you're going to do it? They say the demonstrations had originally been due to finish on Saturday. So it's all over, yes, until the next time, because these people will never be pleased. It's a slippery slope, and whenever you give in to them even a little bit, then they're going to continue to do so. And I know even people like Sargon like to say, oh yes, well, the ban on plastic bags, well, that's fine. But then, as Milo Yiannopoulos quite rightly pointed out, well, actually that then increases plastic waste, because people tend to use those disposable bags, which now cost 5p, in order to get rid of their rubbish with, whereas now they have to use larger, thicker black bins. They use more plastic because of the thickness of the bigger bags. So, yes, well done, you've shot yourself in the foot. But this comes back to what I would say, which is that free market capitalism tends to have all of the answers. In fact, if you want an example of that, you can look to China, which we seem to be entering a Cold War with, whereby they have a communist dictatorship, which is essentially in name only. It's basically just don't speak out against the government, and if you want to do well, you've got to be one with the government. But other than that, they'll let you do whatever you want to do. So, communist would be bigger government, because of course you've got to be one with the government, even if you're a private business, that the government still owns you. But nonetheless, they say, yes, compete however you want, just give us a cut. They're a bit like a mafia, essentially. And in doing so, having that many liberties in China, that does, of course, say, well, don't care about health and safety, don't care about labour requirements, don't care about pensions, any of that, then they can do very well. Let's not get into manipulating their currency, but nonetheless, they're doing very well. So, again, I would say that the free market can solve all. If we would then get rid of the requirement that they can't speak out against the Chinese Communist Party, I would say they would do even better. So if you do want to compete with them, instead of being more authoritarian in trying to limit them and limiting your own people in doing so, take a leaf out of their book and say, yes, you can do whatever you want, and you can badmouth us as much as you want. And in doing that, allowing that free expression and allowing agreements between individuals without the government stepping in, you will of course overtake them as well. But hey, what do I know? Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, share this video around, all the good stuff. We've hit another lull, so I appreciate all the support now and always. And new videos every day. We've been going for a few months, so there's no point in stopping now. Thank you so much for stopping by, and have a wonderful week.